Welcome to this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have with us Josh C., a former teacher, academic advisor, and principal. And we'll learn from him about how families can save thousands of dollars in tens of thousands of dollars in tuition and even earn a degree before high school graduation. We'll learn from him about his proven path over 3,000 over 3,000 families that are used to beat the system and fast track success without sacrificing quality or time. Welcome to the show, Josh.
Appreciate you having me. Excited to be here.
You are welcome. Welcome to the show. Welcome to India in this online form, Josh. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk right now, especially in the US and all those places where a lot of debt, education debt is a big problem. We'll talk about all this in this backdrop. College without the debt, we'll talk about this. But before that, let's understand a bit about your journey, your background, so that people know who they are listening to.
Absolutely. Well, thanks again for having me. I'm Josh C. I'm a former educator of almost 15 years in the charter school world here in the United States. And the charter school world is very much a school of choice where parents can choose to send their child to any school that they desire. I spent specifically 13 years in the early college high school model, in which the mission and model of those schools was to graduate students with something more than just a high school diploma. And with the help of incredible staff, leaders, founders, I was able to help support 3,000 families over the years in graduating with associate's degrees, half their college 4-year bachelor's degree, debt-free, while getting their high school diploma, all by graduating college in high school.
Absolutely, absolutely. Josh, to understand it better, in India, people generally go to college either after, in several states, you have that after class 10th, you have college beginning. Plus two is in many places, it's college in itself. But in many places, after the plus two, then it is actually the college. Help us understand the system, US system, the other systems that you have in that part of the world, so that people also who may benefit from that in this part of the world, a lot of students from India and from this side of, South Asia, they go to the US, they can benefit from your understanding. So what is the system present like? How do you want them to understand? People, especially for a person who is in a rural area, who does not think of going outside because they don't know about how they will get all this money. But if there is a way, why not go outside and study?
Absolutely. Great question. And here in the United States, how it works, the traditional method for how it's worked for 50, 60 plus years is you go to high school for 4 years, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, and then you go to college. And usually college is 4 plus years, 5 years, sometimes 6 years to get that 4-year bachelor's degree. But how it is in the US and how it's different from many areas of the world is college is incredibly expensive here in the United States. In some areas, it is increasing 6 figures, $100,000 per year. And how it is looked like in the traditional system is a student spends 4 years in high school preparing for college, only to go to college and have to repeat those first few years of high school by taking college classes, except this time they're paying thousands of dollars for those classes because college in the United States, for the most part, is not free. You have to pay for it. Now, there are things like scholarships and grants and student loans and things like that. But what I try to really show families is how to avoid those things by starting college early while they're in high school, maximizing sources and resources that are readily available to them in every area of the United States and of the country, showing them that they can get ahead, not only saving time, 1 to 2 years needed off to get that bachelor's degree, but they can save tens of thousands of dollars off the cost of getting that college degree because they're starting early and they're maximizing that time that they already have in high school.
Right, Josh. So help us understand, how does it work? You start doing college in high school itself. Apart from high school work, you do college studies also, or
Correct.
within Is that what you are saying?
That is one method to do it. It absolutely is. And what I try to show families is using sources that they have readily available, that even in their busy schedules, they can utilize a resource like their local community college to take a college course, whether that be in person on campus, whether it be online, which many times that is not time specific. So they can do that on the weekends, or sometimes it might even be self-paced. Another option I talk about, which this option is really for anybody around the world, and it's called the CLEP exam, CLEP. This exam is a 2-hour exam in which a student can go in and earn college credit in only 2 hours. It costs a little less than $100 US, but you can take it at universities and colleges around the world, or even remotely, virtually with a proctor, and earn real college credit right then. So a lot of families I work with will choose that option initially. Some will even choose to make the local community college their high school, because in the US, there is a lot of anxiety and a lot of pressure on families on the US high school system failing their child. And what I try to really show families that they can do, that they do not have to depend on that school to change their ways and how they educate their children by providing opportunities, that they can go out on their own and get those opportunities that are readily available to them. And I see families that will shift from going to a traditional United States high school to using their community college as their high school, earning their high school credits at the same time, because those college credits, they can count as high school credit, and they're earning college credentials, certifications, and degrees at the same time. It's a thing of beauty.
Absolutely. So why is it that they don't charge money and others do? That leads you families into debt. Why is it? So is it government funded, or is there another mechanism? And in terms of, you talk about CLEP, if I understood it correctly.
Correct.
So one can take this particular system of exam or college credits across the world, and that will be valid.
Correct. Yeah. CLEP is overseen by the College Board, which, if any of your listeners are familiar with the College Board, they are the same body that oversees advanced placement and various other things. And they've been around for about 60 to 70 years. So it's a very well known, respected body that accepts college credit. Now, every institution in the US is different. Some will accept almost all 34 CLEP exams based in subject areas. Some will accept none, others will accept a few. So there definitely has to be homework and research, and most importantly, a strategy. And that's what I help a lot of families with, is developing a strategy to get them to their goal and their why for doing this. But back to your first question about the cost. In the United States, a lot of public universities are public entities of the state in which they reside. In the 50s and the 60s and even the early 1970s, those schools were largely funded 70 to 80% by the state. So the state was providing dollars, taxpayer dollars, to that university. And what the university was able to do is keep tuition rates extremely low. So you may hear stories, your listeners may hear stories of a student back in the 70s that was able to work a summertime job and pay for their entire tuition for the following year, not having to take out student loans or borrow money or anything like that. That is reversed in recent years, in which many states only fund their public universities to the tune of about 10 to 15%. So a university will pass on that cost to the family, to the student, to pay, therefore drastically increasing tuition dollar rates that families unfortunately will pay. Student loans are prevalent in the United States. They're one of the easiest things to get because it does not require a credit check or any sort of financial well-being check. You simply sign on the dotted line and get there. But what we see, and why I really focus on this so much, is 7% of students earn scholarships in the US on average. That's all. And loans, like I said, are prevalent because college is so expensive. And it's an 11th hour decision in which families do not get that award package to see what a college will give them in the form of scholarships, in the form of other financial aid, including student loans. They're left to their own, the control of that school to determine if they're going to choose to go there. I look at college in reverse. I look at if you can look at the things you can control back into your 4-year bachelor's degree, if that is your goal, and start knocking off some of those general education and core classes that here in the US, every student has to take, regardless if you want to be a teacher, an engineer, a nurse, or whatever you desire to be, and take back control of those, starting that in college, in high school specifically, and working your way into it. And it gives families the control back, and to help lower drastically, in many cases, lower that college cost.
Right. So once you get all those credits, how do you get the bachelor's degree here, Josh?
Absolutely. So, what a student will do, or what a family will do, is if they take college courses through their local community college, or they earn credit through the CLEP exam, they will funnel that through that community college. Let's say a community college will give them the equivalent course credit for, say, a history CLEP exam, or for a history level 100 or 1000 level course at the community college. Once the student chooses their university and they've decided, I am going to this university in this state, all they simply do is transfer that transcript, that academic record, to the university. The university does a full audit, and they grant them credit. But the nice thing we can look at is we can look at history, and universities will post, if a student takes this history course at a community college, or they take this history club exam, here is how it equates to our course at the university level. And that's what I really show families how to do. I want to teach them how to fish, so they can properly advocate for themselves once they get to the university, because it takes a strategy. It can't just be taking random CLEP exams or random community college classes while in high school. They may get credit, but they may not get credit. It's such a game our families in the United States have to play. I help them, show them how to play the game.
Absolutely. So universities, do they charge then? Because finally you will be taking exams here at the university. How much do they charge? And overall, if one has to go directly to the colleges and there they would pay a lot of money, what's the total difference? Say you take all those CLEP exams and all that stuff, and then to pay to the university altogether, how much does it come to? And if you were to go to another college with taking the debt, how much will be the difference?
Absolutely. And that is the standard, or should I say a lack of standard here in the United States. The average, and I show families on a cost per course because it's a little bit easier to digest than 100,000 a year. Cost per course on average is $2,500 per university course per semester at a public university. You can take that same course at a local community college on average for $300. You can take the equivalent CLEP exam for less than $100. So you're getting incredible savings just by doing that. On average, a student will take out $30,000 in federal student loan debt by the time they are done with school. And here's another thing. Only 62% of students that start college finish college in the US in 6 years, yet they are still saddled with potentially that $30,000 student loan debt or more. On average, a public university may cost you around $20,000 to $25,000 per year. A private institution, I always use the example of the University of Southern California in Los Angeles. They charge $91,000 per year just in your tuition. That does not include your fees, your materials, your textbooks, your housing, which can be in the Los Angeles area, thousands of dollars per month, and every other potential fee. So the cost of university, of college, varies widely. So what I do is I do the research up front for families. If they have an idea of where they live, their local community college, what their situation is as a high school student, what their university goal is, and try to show them those pieces. Because unlike other places in the world, it is not clear cut. It is completely, it's on a website. You can see what it looks like. But until you sign on that dotted line in the 11th hour, right before you go to university in August and September, that's the first time you truly see how much it will cost you. And in many times it can be completely overwhelming and incredibly expensive.
Right, right, Josh. So if it is there, why is it that people cannot see it? Parents cannot see it, students cannot see it, and take those huge loans and have a burden for almost half their life. Why is it so? Is it
Because
about prospects? It's about something else.
it's there's transparency in many universities. If they're a public entity, they're required to be transparent and post how much call it classes cost and this is that. But for the most part, it's very much an estimate because there are so many factors in play on what exact courses they take. If it's a science course, there's going to be many more. It's going to be more expensive because of the fees. If they live in this dormitory or housing unit that's brand new, that may be 40 to 50% higher than the cinder block 8x8 room with the shared bathroom across campus. Different transportation methods, different. The list goes on and on and on, which is why it's so hard to predict how much it will cost to go to a university until you are committing to that university. You pay them the deposit saying, yes, I'm committed, I'm coming. And then they show you. And many times families have to make up that difference with that student loan because the money they set aside, the money they were hoping for scholarships, let's say, or even grants they don't have to pay back, doesn't cover the bill. And they're at a loss at what to do. I wish it were much more transparent. And if it were more like a flat type cost, it's going to cost you exactly this much. Unfortunately, it's not like that. The system in a lot of ways is broken. And there are very vocal people that will tell you it is broken. My job and my goal is to show families, yes, it may be broken, but you can control it. Control what you can do with your child and at least mitigate that cost, whatever it may be.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, in terms of the degree itself, the bachelor's degree itself, what is the difference? Getting it from community college, any
Mhm.
the university associated with it, and others who are paying, so much of money taken from out of debt. What is the difference? Is the degree different? Will it create
Mhm.
more prospects? How does it work?
Great question. I think that's the $1 million question. And if we had a lot more time, we could dive into chapter one of that of chapter 20. But really, what it looks like, bachelor's degrees are typically 120 to 130 credits. On paper, a university says you should be able to get that in 4 years. But AJ, so many colleges on average, only about 50% of their students get a bachelor's degree in 4 years. Community colleges here in the United States are very much in what that word means. They are to serve the community. So if you desire to be a firefighter, if you desire to be a plumber or a welder or a medical technician doing x-rays, things like that, you would go through a community college because it's a shorter path to earn a credential, to earn, say, an associate's degree, which is half of a bachelor's degree. So a community college can typically get you about 60 credits, one half of that bachelor's degree. But in the United States, the first half of a bachelor's degree, for the most part, is made up of those general education courses I talked about earlier, those basic courses that you can take at a university at a high cost, or you can take it at a community college for a much lower cost. And you may get a better experience because there may be 30 students in your class as opposed to 300 at the university. And it helps mitigate the debt in a big way. Community colleges are seeing a much higher need. And we learned a lot of this, especially in certain areas coming out of the pandemic in the area of healthcare. Where community colleges are starting to offer bachelor's degrees on their campus in fields such as nursing because there is such a shortage, at least here in the US, on nurses and various areas needed for healthcare. And you can get that bachelor's degree at the community college for a much lower cost than you were at the university. So time will tell. So your last question on is it worth it? You know what? I don't know. I think it depends on every single student. One thing I show families, and I've done my entire career, is do not go to college to find yourself or to figure it out. You are paying six figures to figure out what you want to do and to quote unquote find yourself. Start it in high school. I've had countless families that have gone through a community college. They've started college while in high school and they've hated it. They said, it's not for me. I want to do something completely else. And I tell them, you know what? That's okay. You paid pennies to figure that out now, as opposed to thousands of dollars trying to figure that out down the road. So there are a lot of the people out there that will say college isn't worth it. Don't do it. I believe for certain areas and certain trades, if you want to be an engineer, a doctor, various things like that, you should do it. And also, if you're a student and you have a goal in mind that you desire to do, and the best way to do that is through a bachelor's degree. But it's going to be interesting the next 10, 20 years to see how that tide shifts. My goal in the interim is to help them save as much money and as much time as they can getting to that point.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There is much to learn from you about all this. And I'm sure a lot of parents, a lot of students would like to connect with you, learn more about all this, and get the best benefit through you, through your step-by-step course also, and all this. So what's the best way for them to do so?
Best way is I'm on LinkedIn. Search my name. I'm one of 3 or 4 Josh C's apparently in the entire world on LinkedIn. You'll see my bright, shiny face. I'm also on all of the social media platforms, Instagram, TikTok. I'm even on YouTube now. Call it at College in High School.
Wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you.